Good to go.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Todd Dial, and I am the manager of the academic program here in the Department of Food Science and Nutrition at Illinois Tech. And we're excited to welcome you to our Food Industry Friday seminar. We are especially happy today to have our speaker with us, Liang Bennett. Now, let me tell you a few things about her. Liang works as the Senior Manager of Contract Manufacturing Quality at Vital Farms. She's responsible for building relationships and encouraging compliance at Vital Farms co-manufacturers from a quality, food safety, and regulatory perspective. Prior to her current position, Liang served as the Technical Assurance Manager at the Chicago Meat Authority. In that role, she was responsible for leading product development, quality, and food safety efforts across the company. Prior to the Chicago Meat Authority, she held other quality roles in frozen foods and beverage facilities. We are proud that Liang received her BS in biochemistry and her professional master's in food safety and technology from Illinois Tech. She also co-chairs our Alumni Association for the Department of Food Science and Nutrition, for which we are eternally grateful. We're really happy to have you here with us today, Liang. We do welcome questions. So during Liang's talk, if you have questions, we would invite you to type those questions into the chat. We're going to hold those questions to the very end of the presentation, and then we'll take them in order at that time. So without further ado, I will turn the time over to Liang, who's going to speak to us about food safety and quality from concept to commercialization at Vital Farms. Go ahead, Liang.
Thank you so much, Todd, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me speak. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to share my screen right now. Okay, got that. So my presentation is on concept to commercialization at Vital Farms. So how do we at Vital Farms turn an idea into a finished product? All the stage 8 processes we take for that. And before I start, I do want to touch upon being the co-chair of our Food Science Alumni Association. We are constantly looking to improve relations with our students. We want to provide more opportunities for them and build mentorship opportunities as well as career development opportunities. However, we are missing a student representative on our board. So if anyone has any interest in being that person on our exec board to be the sounding board where we can bounce ideas off of, that'd be great. Please reach out to me. All right. So from concept to commercialization at Vital Farms. First of all, I want to give a little bit of an introduction as to the type of company that Vital Farms is. We are focused on producing ethic food to the table, and we do that by providing consumers with more information to make conscious decisions. We learned through a lot of research that our consumers care about animal welfare, that up to 55% of our consumers want to buy food where the animals are treated humanely. And that is an important decision that they have when they purchase their food and beverages. Additionally, we found out that 62% of consumers are driven by a company's ethical values and authenticity. So they want a company that they can stand behind, that they feel proud to buy from, and that is transparent to them throughout their entire process. And finally, we learned that 30% of our consumers actually would go out of their way to buy products that are where the company indicates humane treatment of animals. In that sense, where they're willing to drive to a different store or to pay a premium for our products. So Vital Farms is a ethically produced as well as pasture-raised company. We have 3 lines of business. Our first is going to be our shell egg business. Perhaps what we're most well known for are pasture-raised eggs, and we affectionately call our hens our girls on grass. We also have, off of that branch, we have a dairy business as well, where we make butter from pasture-raised cows, and we use that butter to make spreadable butter or ghee. And then finally, most recently, we have launched into the ready-to-eat breakfast products section. And we have our pasture-raised egg bites made from our eggs. And we also have our breakfast bars as well. And these are convenience foods that we saw that our consumers wanting to fill that space in the market. They wanted something that was handheld, easy to eat, but still provided them with the same great nutrition and the same brand that they were used to seeing with other Vital Farms product. So for our breakfast bars, which is the product that I'll be speaking to today, this was really driven by a need for comfort food, reimagining comfort food. So our consumers really wanted to see a product like a quiche type bar that was reminiscent of their sausage casseroles they ate growing up, or broccoli and cheese quiche pastries. So we turned that into a convenience format of breakfast bar. And on some of these flavors, we have a crust on them as well. And the cheeses that go in the product are also come from pasture-raised cows, and the meat in these products are humanely raised, crate-free as well. All that ties into our brand. So here at Vital Farms, we really focus on the welfare of our stakeholders. And what our stakeholders are, those are all the individuals that make an impact on our brand. So of course, we have our customers and consumers at the forefront of our mind. We also care about our crew members and all those individuals contributing to making Vital the brand it is. We place a high emphasis on sourcing the right suppliers who can deliver a high quality product at all times. We care about our shareholders. We recently went public last year. So with that in mind, we do take into consideration all of our stakeholders and what they want to see as well in terms of imagining the future of our product. And we care a lot about giving back to the community. And we have a lot of environmental initiatives as well to reduce our carbon footprint. So I want to touch a little bit upon hen lifestyle standards and the difference between pasture-raised, free-range, cage-free, and conventional. So our hens and our dairy cows are pasture-raised. That means that year-round they have open access to pasture. They spend a lot of their time outdoors in the sun. They're free to graze on grass, branches, all the outside foliage. And on average, pasture-raised hens get an average of 108 square feet per hen. Free range eggs, they have a window of access outdoors, but it's not as frequent as pasture raised. And cage free, they get about, they get less or no outdoor access, but they're without the confines of the cage. And then you have your conventional caged hens, which have less space than that. And how do we achieve this premium egg brand? Here's what we do. So from a farming and operations standpoint, we have year-round pasture. So we work with a lot of family farmers, and we have what we call the pasture belt, which is this Midwest region where the temperament is perfect for raising flocks. And we make sure all of our over 200 family farms are certified humane, and they go through various audits throughout the year to make sure that the living conditions for the hens are really great. We encourage healthy farming practices, and we work with the family farmers. We have our own grower support team, which are individuals, experts that travel out to the farms to make sure that healthy practices and conditions are constantly being kept and maintained. And we have our own shell egg facility, which we call Egg Central Station at in Springfield, Missouri. That is SQF, Safe Quality Food Level 3, which is food safety as well as quality certified. And in working with our brand and mission, we're also certified B Corp. That's a certification that they give to companies when we have a certain social and environmental performance score. We have to meet certain sustainability, environmental performances, and be held accountable to be transparent to the consumer. And it's really important for us that we maintain that certification and keep that in mind when we talk about our conscious capitalism and our stakeholder model. We, of course, we want to extend our brand beyond just eggs and dairy. So we have some exciting things in the works, and you'll see our brand grow as time goes on. And we want to provide a large footprint. So we want to be able to have national recognition, be a household name, while still providing the qualities and some of the sentiment behind what you might imagine from a family eggs coming from a family farm. All right, now that you have background information, I want to go into quality, food safety, and innovation at Vital Farms and how we're set up a little bit differently from your traditional food manufacturer. So my role is as the Senior Manager of Co-Man Quality, where I'm responsible for contract manufacturing quality. All of Vital Farms business that is not the shell egg business is done through contract manufacturers. That means that we have contracts with other private manufacturing plants across the United States for them to run Vital Farms product for us under our name. And we have about 10 manufacturing plants all over the US that make things like the ghee, liquid eggs, hard-boiled breakfast bars, egg bites, you name it. And there are several steps we need to take to qualify a co-man. And it's really important that we get the right partner for this. So first and foremost, they have to also believe in our values and mission statement, and they have to buy off on our ethical, conscious consumerism brand. We also have to look forward to their equipment capabilities. Are they already running a similar product or process to what we're looking for? Do they have room to grow with us in the future if we were to expand our lines? And very importantly, from a food safety, quality, and regulatory point of view, they have to be able to match our process and product specifications. So in my role, I work primarily to support our contract manufacturers. I work a lot with their quality and food safety departments they have on site. And there are certain things I look for when I qualify a co-man. So their food safety, quality, and regulatory. From a food safety standpoint, I want to check on their HACCP plans and food safety plans and make sure that they're sound and very robust. Some of our co-mans may be running similar product, but due to our process differences, they may have to revise or add in parts of their HACCP plans. I work with them hand in hand to make sure all those HACCP food safety criteria is met. I also want to look toward prerequisite programs and get a better understanding of how our co-man runs. How do their logistics, shipping, and handling, receiving protocols run? How are their storage facilities? What is their programs like? How is their QA team structured? Due to our wide variety of co-man products, every manufacturer is vastly different from the other. So I really take time to understand that. In addition, I like to understand their sanitation practices as well, because we may not be their only product that they're running. I have to make sure that our product does not reach any cross-contamination with other products. That I want to learn if their products are cleaned, or the processes are cleaned in-house or by themselves. And it's important for me to make sure that their equipment is clean. And really importantly is pathogen prevention. I have to understand the steps they go toward to ensure that the food is safe. What are their employee handling practices like? What are their finished goods testing? How can we ensure that out of our co-man we have the cleanest product possible? And I also look at the facility brick and mortar, and this is done through visiting the plant. I like to take a walk through the facility, check out the equipment, look into the preventive maintenance programs, and see how they take a more preventive rather than reactive approach, so that we can minimize things like equipment downtime that may affect our processing. When I look towards quality, I always think about the culture. Culture is huge. We always say in food safety and quality that quality is everyone's responsibility, and we really want to work with plants that buy off on that have that management backing of food safety and quality. It kind of works from the top down, but also from the bottom up as well. And I also, for quality, I look towards historical data. I look at certain key performance indicators and metrics from previous data, such as I look at like pre-op or sanitation data and information, and that will help predict and drive how I think this plant will perform in the future. I also like to look at regulatory. So for that, I look at certifications that the plant has. Are they GFSI certified? Do they still need to work on becoming GFSI certified? How can I support them in that aspect? Are they halal, kosher, organic, etc.? And what steps are needed to fill the gaps if they're not, if we want to make that claim with our products that they're making for us. This is our innovation stage gate process. We have 4 stage gates that we must meet before the product launch. So they are conceptualization. That's where we determine a focus for a new product idea that we have. So we need to validate what our consumers want to see on the marketplace. What problem are we solving for? What gap are we solving for in the current marketplace? Generate and validate the ideas. Once we have one idea, we go into the next 2 phases, which take the longest time. They are the feasibility and scaling phases. In feasibility, we nail down the product formulation, figure out the packaging, we identify our co-man, which is really important, and then we gear up towards our first production trial. In our scaling phase, we all know that when we go from benchtop to a larger scale, a lot of issues come up unexpectedly. So that's when we do run trials, multiple trials, really dial down our process, finalize our graphics, packaging. In this scaling phase, we'd also conduct things like validating quality, shelf life packaging. And then finally, very excitedly, we can go off to our first production and work with our marketing and communications team to develop a strong, clear message, craft that, and build a launch support plan for our product. In this conceptualization phase, this is where we draw upon consumer insights to identify needs and generate ideas. So we do this by either using third-party firms to help us research trends. We pull reports from big databases like Mintel, who do every year they pull out consumer trends. So we discovered when we were making our breakfast bars product that the 3 trends that we saw consumers wanting was a snack. Because a lot of us were working from home during COVID in 2020, they wanted snacks that were easy to get a hold of, that were easy to munch on between their work. We saw a shift towards wanting real food, so food that was convenient but less processed. And very importantly, they wanted comfort food. So because of the pandemic, a lot of our consumers who identify with eating as an emotional experience wanted that same comfort in their snack. So while after we learned that, we went on to identify and validate the needs of our consumers. And we do that through 2 ways. We have a qualitative research stage and a quantitative research stage. For our qualitative research stage, that's when we would focus less on determining metrics and more so on understanding consumer behaviors. We'd ask our consumers involved in our panel to jot down digital diaries of everything they or their family ate and try to identify patterns that way. We would go along and interview consumers and ask them what are your most commonly reached for products, what does inside your refrigerator look like? And really interestingly, we conducted something called shop-alongs. So that's when a representative would actually follow the consumer in the store and understand the behaviors and motives behind why they picked out a certain brand over another brand, or what they fed their families, or what they like to eat on a more regular basis. And from that information, we drew consumer insights, and we found out that consumers are interested in a product that was reminded them of comfort food, but that sparked joy and was an innovative spin on comfort food and gave a new experience to weekday breakfast and snacking. And we also found that consumers craved something that was very easy for them to make, but they still needed that nutrient-dense product that was able to sustain them through several hours of work during the day. And after we pulled that information aside and distilled it down, we launched into our consumer panel phase, which is our quantitative research phase. We looked at consumers' attitudes and usages. We had 25 ideas we tested, and we asked our consumers to fill out a survey, asking them likelihood of buying it, preference, etc. And then we finally narrowed it down to breakfast bars. They scored number 1 in our idea screen out of 100 ideas brainstormed across 600 consumers. All right. Once we have the breakfast bars ideas down, next is our feasibility stage gate process. So in this process, R&D is the first step. It's really important for us to nail down the formulation and get exactly the formulation we need for our co-mans to manufacture. And we do that through creating several different prototypes of product until we decide on a gold standard. So we want to have a clear understanding and idea of how this product will taste, its texture, its appearance, and we want the ideal form, and that's our gold standard. And we will present several prototypes to focus groups and consumers and ask them to choose what they like. So for example, for our breakfast bars product, we wanted even dispersion of inclusions, such as the meat or the vegetables. We wanted a golden brown egg look. We wanted a smooth upper bar texture. We wanted a very golden brown crust. So once we have that idea, we could take it to our next process, which is the co-man search. My boss, who's the director of contract manufacturing, has certain databases he uses to search for contract manufacturers for companies that are either doing similar products right now. And we also do a lot of work by going to trade shows and connecting with potential contract manufacturers there. And we have what we call the 4 C's in this step. They are capability, capacity, cost, and culture. Most importantly is the culture. Does this co-man also believe in our values? Do they exhibit our 4 values, which are lead with a growth mindset, behave like an owner, act with empathy, and be humble? Do they have the capability to achieve our gold standards, processing and packaging specs we're asking of them? Do they have the capacity to run this product using their current equipment, or do they have to bring in new equipment to help them run and set up there? Can they achieve our launch timing? I've seen launch timing anywhere from a few months to 3 to 5 years long term. So are they able to achieve that for us? And can they grow with us if our business grows? And then finally, from a cost standpoint, if we do have to bring in equipment, we have to think about capital, CapEx, and also being able to still make a profit and coming up with an end cost that makes sense to both the co-man and Vital Farms as well. Once we narrow down the co-man, we go into procurement. So this is where we are sourcing ingredients for the initial trials, as well as building that relationship and firming down the ingredients and raw material vendors for production. So we need to find a co-man that matches our concept and our vision, a raw material vendor that matches our vision. And so, for example, we have a sun-dried tomato ingredient in our egg bites, and sun-dried tomatoes, they are dried outside a lot of times, so there is high micro. So how do we either source a sun-dried tomato vendor that has lower micro, or build out a process in the process so that they are the micro is killed off. So those are considerations we have to make when we procure an ingredient. We have to make sure that any raw ingredients we procure also match our standards. We have in our product gluten-free claims sometimes, so we can't use a regular flour vendor. We have to go to using tapioca starch and explore options there. And working with alternative starches is also challenging sometimes in baking. So those are considerations we take in mind when we procure raw ingredients, as well as market capabilities. Can we find a supplier that is able to pivot and work with us in today's rapidly changing market, as well as a lot of times there are supply chain issues with COVID and getting supplies in on time? Can we find a raw material vendor that's able to partner with us there? And that makes sense from a financial standpoint. And then once we figure out the procurement piece, we go into packaging. So that's where we can really make an impact with our branding. We want our product to be highly visible, highly distinctive on shelves, and we want to be able to make sure that customers, when they see it, they'll instantly recognize it, the product or the font as being Vital Farms from even across the aisle. From a packaging standpoint, we also have to take into consideration shelf life. Because we use contract manufacturers, a lot of our products spend more time along in the supply chain or on freight to get from place to place than a regular product would take. So we need a packaging that's strong and durable enough to withhold all those different layers of transportation and intermediate steps in our supply chain. And we apply things like modified atmospheric packaging to our products as well to help extend that shelf life through. And because we are an ethical brand, we take into mind sustainability. So we want to use packaging that will reduce our carbon footprint. So a lot of our packaging you'll see is called PCR, which is post-consumable recyclables. So that comes from 20% of recycled content. And we're working on steps to regenerate, be able to have that regenerative, sustainable step. Some considerations I have in new product development from food safety and quality standpoint. I'm always looking and figuring out the natural microbial composition of the product we're trying to create. So for examples, for breakfast bars, we have to take into consideration that it's a kind of a wet product matrix, that the breakfast bars are baked and then reheated by the customer. So what are the natural microbial composition like, and what are the pathogens or potential pathogens that could enter this product? So for example, you have Salmonella, Listeria, as well as E. coli. How can we prevent that from entering the process stream? We also look toward indicator organisms. So those are organisms that can give insight into how the product has been handled by the plant employees during production, or it can give indication to the sanitation of the manufacturing plant. For example, yeast and mold is something we look for a lot of the time, or aerobic plate count as well. And the chemical composition really plays a large role in how this product is going to age throughout its shelf life. So we take during our shelf life studies, we take initial pH, water activity, salt, or moisture levels, and we're able to track that throughout the entire shelf life of the product. If our shelf life of spreadable butter, for example, is 120 days, then what does the chemical composition look like at day 0 versus day 120? And what is that impact on the taste and sensory standpoint? So we want to make sure that our customers feel like the product is good through the entire shelf life of products. So during this qualification process, we analyze for sensory attributes such as taste, smell, texture from day 0 to throughout shelf life. All right. Once we've gotten the micro and quality parameters down, we look towards packaging. So there's a lot of packaging considerations that take place when you're trying to package a new product. So one of the things is, how does that packaging supplier work in our supply chain? So we're looking for packaging that can be easily sourced. We do work with some packaging suppliers that are international. So what is the lead time like on that? To order new packaging, how far in advance do we have to order? What is the minimum order quantity, et cetera, for our packaging? We also have to do a lot of stress testing to validate our packaging. So this is something where we'll work with another lab who will put that packaging through certain stress tests to make sure it upholds all of its sorry, I lost my train of thought. We'll uphold all of its packaging parameters there. So with that, because we drive all across the United States, some altitudes are higher than others. So we validate at certain pressures to make sure that the packaging won't pop when it's going through areas like the Rocky Mountains or other mountainous regions. We also really want to make sure our artwork is built in, it's very visible, our brand message is clear and concise on our packaging while still meeting regulatory guidelines, and it has the appropriate barrier properties to help that package and product go to its shelf life. And we use a lot of modified atmospheric packaging where we'll gas flush the product with CO2 or nitrogen, and that's how we can help extend its shelf life. We also have a lot of supply chain considerations. So this is things that can help or hinder us in our product development. We have to take into consideration product storage considerations. So where is the product stored initially at the co-man site? Where is it stored in intermediate storage steps? And how does the final customer store it? So is this a refrigerated product throughout its entire supply chain? Is it frozen first, then slacked out? Is it done by the customer or done at the co-man level? All those things, and as well as how long it spends in each stage, are things we have to take into consideration. We also have to take into consideration palletization patterns. So this is really important for us because we have different customers ordering different quantities from us. So depending on how the co-man first stacks up their pallets, we may have to rearrange the pallet configuration for certain retailers or split pallets in half for certain smaller retailers that order smaller quantities from us. And of course, there's also considerations in our supply chain, such as when we store it in a intermediate facility like the cold storage, how are we tracking that inventory? How can we sync up our inventory management system with theirs and make sure that all products are accounted for? Do we have full traceability of that in the event of a recall or withdrawal, to make sure we have our hands around the entire product? And are we meeting the customer needs? So certain customers require different information on their master cases, whether it's the best by date, code date information. We want to make sure that what we decide on from our co-man's point of view in terms of packaging and labeling is representative of all our customers' needs at the retailer. And from a retailer standpoint, all of our retailers require different shelf space times. So what is the amount of time we need from each retailer to turn around the product, go to our co-man, order new product in, and then ship that out to them? We have to take all those things into consideration, as well as freight. Because Vital Farms does not have their own freight company, we contract that out with separate carriers, and we need to work with us on a schedule for delivery trucks that works with both Vital Farms as well as the co-mans and meets our customer requirements. When we scale up, this is always a trial and error process. Like the slide says, innovation is not always rainbows and butterflies. There's a lot of process variations that can happen in production. So when we think about cooking at home, we're mixing maybe 3 eggs to make an omelet. It could take 30 seconds for us to mix, but when we increase the batch size to 500 pounds of eggs, we may have to mix for 20 minutes or so to fully incorporate all that in. So those are things we have to consider when we scale up. Is it feasible for the co-man to do? And when we also cook in larger batches or chill in larger batches, that takes more time as well. Do our co-mans perhaps need to hire more people? How does their staffing model look like for each process that we take? As well as qualifying the current equipment or new equipment we have on site for them to help us run our product. And I put this photo of this inclined conveyor belt here because I once worked at a manufacturing plant that had to order a new inclined conveyor belt, but it didn't have quite as many flights on it as they needed. So our diced chicken product was just rolling downhill every time it tried to be brought up on the line, and that created efficiency issues and lots of unwanted downtime. And these are really things that we're not going to see until we actually do a full trial at the production plant. And there's a lot of variability that can happen in packaging. We have to make sure that packaging is sealed properly, that the packaging line is running smoothly, and that our co-mans are comfortable with any new packaging equipment we bring them so that they have the full confidence to run it and troubleshoot any issues that may come up with the packaging. So once we've done all that legwork, now it's time for our launch stage gate. And this is where we have to develop support for a new product. And different things to consider here are first the distribution. So which retailers will this product go to? Our breakfast bars are currently sold at places like Sprouts, Whole Foods, Mariano's, where we think the customer base would welcome the product and receive it warmly. We also have to consider the availability. When we launch this product, do we want to do a soft launch or a very visible launch, or do we just want to put it out in the marketplace without much marketing? There's different things to consider depending on how new this product is or whether it's just a line extension of current product. And we have to consider the supply chain distribution. So all of our products go from our co-mans to Egg Central Station, Springfield, Missouri, and then are distributed outwardly. But how can we make sure that our retail stores and distribution centers get the product with enough shelf lifetime so that we can maximize the quality and eating experience for our customers? In terms of communications, our marketing and communications team is fantastic in crafting clear and concise messages. We do things like we have a YouTube channel where they'll do 45-minute videos or 45-second videos about our product. We have a strong social media presence in terms of using Instagram or Twitter. We're constantly searching ways to present ourselves at trade shows or be in certain magazines, like natural product magazines. And when we're ready to launch a new product, we make sure that our IT department has that product available in our company webpage with where consumers can buy the product. And our message is really important because we want to remain consistent in how we market this new product, and we want to make sure that our core audience's interest is piqued. So for our breakfast bars product, we may not necessarily want to attract like the same audience who is interested in eating pizza rolls, for example. We want to make sure that our core audience and our vision is aligned that way. So here are some of the things we did for our breakfast bars launch. We identified our target audience, which are people who are looking for a healthy, convenient snacking option or breakfast option, or current Vital Farms enthusiasts already. We scheduled PR campaigns, and part of that was putting some ads and having ad agencies help us put ads of our new product on web pages, similar web pages of like products. We work with social media influencers to send them PR packages, and we have something called the Pasture Post and a newsletter that our customers can subscribe to on our website, so we're able to pitch that through the newsletter. And we do cross promotions with our products. So in our shell eggs, you may see a coupon when you open up that case for free breakfast bars to cross promote all of our products through our company. All right, and finishing up my presentation, Cindy asked me to speak to some careers in the food industry. When I was a student, I remember thinking that I didn't know all the vast options that were available to me. So in terms of career, you can either go into academia, a lot of research, or industry. And here are some careers that are available in the food industry. So from a supply chain standpoint, and my current role is based in supply chain, so I get a lot of firsthand insight into things like inventory management, logistics, customer support, and all those technical logistics there. We have an innovation team who works on that first part of our stage gate that we talked about, the conceptualization, the formulation. Our packaging engineers are part of innovation, and also brand management. So brand management is being able to see a product through all the stage gates, do the project management for a product, and then at the end of the day, own that entire product portfolio and continue promoting it. We have, from a marketing standpoint, business development, working with current customers and trying to garner more customers for our product, and working with retailers on that level. And communications, building and crafting that strong brand message, working on strategizing how to get this, how to really get this product across the board and make it appealing and understanding to consumers. And then lastly, the role that I've chosen is a quality and food safety role. So you can go into auditing, similar to what I do. You can go into regulatory compliance, where you are doing a lot of work with either from, like, for example, biofarms, we have a regulatory compliance from a farm standpoint, where we have individuals working with hens and farmers and cows, and then we have regulatory compliance further downstream of the process, which is what I do in a lot of the food processing aspects. So there's definitely a lot of options to explore, and really excited to see the next steps of the food industry and to see the future of the food industry, which is all of you. And here's my contact information. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to shoot me a message. And thank you very much for listening. I'm going to turn it over now for questions.
Yeah, Liang, that was a great presentation. Thanks so much for sharing with us what it is that your company does across that production. We would love to have people ask questions. You can type it in the chat, or if you would rather speak, please raise your hand and we'll call on you, and you can then unmute and ask your question. So any questions out there for Liang?
Come on, don't be shy.
Well, while we wait for that, I have a question for you. I'm going to put myself back on camera here so you can see me. Hi. So I have a question for you. You mentioned that for your co-manufacturers, you have 4 C's, right, that you look at: capability, capacity, cost, and culture. So those first 3 are fairly easily measured, right? There are numbers associated with those things. I guess my question is, how do you assess a co-manufacturer's culture?
That's a great question, Todd. A lot of that is really the best way to do that is not through like emails or I don't know, Teams meetings. The best way to do that is to really go out, visit the manufacturer plants, get a feel for their current company culture, how they operate, and see their current product portfolios, and then really see how we work together in the first steps. So during all of our product trials, how can they pivot with us? How quickly or responsive are they to us? Those are all things we take into consideration. So it's less so of a very quantitative measure and more of just like a gut feeling a lot of the times.
A gut feeling. I like that. That's very scientific.
Yes.
Any questions from anybody else?
Thank you everyone for tuning in today. And remember, I'm still looking for student volunteers to join our alumni advisory board. So shameless plug there.
All right. Well, we're not going to force questions. So if there aren't any questions, I want to thank you, Liang, for your presentation today. We were so happy to have you. Everyone has your contact information, so they can shoot you a line. And I know from personal experience that Liang is very responsive to any questions anybody has. She's a great individual to work with, and we're happy to be able to work with her ourselves. So thank you so much for attending our presentation today. And everyone have a great rest of your day and weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Hi, thanks again, Mike. Great presentation.